This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
The following is a paid program. The content is provided by the advertiser. WPSL, its staff, management, and ownership are not responsible for the content. Investment involves risk. Prior to making any investment, an investor should meet suitability requirements. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future performance. Neither the opinions expressed nor the information provided constitutes a recommendation to purchase or provide investment advice. The material presented is not a substitute for obtaining professional advice from a qualified person or firm. Securities offered through Centaurus Financial, member FINRA and SIPC. And now, the host of the Team Martek Hour, Joe Martek.
Well, that was quick. So much for notice. You're on. I like that, Dan, you know?
On what?
Now, Joe, right now.
Are we on Joe right
Yeah,
now? 340-1590, 340-1590. Dan and I were just reminiscing a little bit about why he didn't die last week.
Well, you know,
Wasn't his time.
it wasn't my
Wasn't his
time. You know,
time.
God was looking out for me, and He gave me the right wife to fight for me. And
What's an interesting thing is something as should be as simple in the world to diagnose and quickly take care of. Thank God you had your wife being the pain in the rear end she is, making it happen. Because you, Dan, by nature, are not, how do I phrase this right, an aggressive,
Pushy?
pushy.
Not pushy.
I'm not.
No.
I'm not.
That's not you. However, you remind me years and years and years ago. I remember when my daughter was in the hospital, and she grew 3 inches in an hour because she had scoliosis, and they did the surgery, and so she's post-surgery, and she's hurting, and her mother kind of puts her eyes over her head and leaves because she can't stand seeing her daughter in pain.
Oh, see, no, I turned
Now,
into Mama Grizzly
Joe
and everyone's
Martek
in
hit
trouble.
the door and said, "No,
Yeah.
you will take care of this now,
Uh-huh.
now." And that's exactly what Nancy did.
Oh, absolutely.
Because sepsis, and sepsis counselor, you know what that is.
Yes, I do.
Dan just was, let's say, inadequately diagnosed and could have been dead, or at least, brain dead, more than he is
you know,
today.
here's the thing, Joe. I went in for a rather simple procedure
Right,
to determine what type of surgery I should have up the road.
right.
All right. The next day, I have sepsis, and the answer I get is it was introduced during the procedure.
See, here's the sad thing, right, Alan? And you, of all people, have gone through more doctors probably than the rest of us combined in this room, and you know what doctors can do to you, or the medical profession can do. It isn't necessarily a doctor, but it's the procedures that can be done inadequately, faultily.
Well, you know, Joe, I don't consider myself an ignorant person, but I mean, I'm not up on all kinds of stuff. But
Well.
I've never really knew much about sepsis.
Yep.
I mean, I'd sort of heard it in the wind somewhere, but at the time when I was in the hospital, and I'm thinking, well, why is my son wanting to come down here, and why is Nancy so on this? Well, once I got home and did a little bit of research on my own, I realized the sense of urgency because there's a limited window of time. Sepsis kills you quick. 30% of the people who get it die. You have a really, really high percentage of people that end up with organ damage or leukemia. So to walk away with apparently no side effects, I really feel blessed.
Is rare.
It's rare. I feel blessed. My family did their job, but I have a lot of friends, Joe, who would not have survived.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
single
boy.
guys.
Big time.
They would have gone home like I did. I went home and said, "Where's my robe? I'm going to bed." And luckily for me, I had a wife who saw beyond what I was telling her. If I was single, I wouldn't be here today.
Well, that macho "I'll fix it myself" gets in the way.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
he just,
You know.
he did mention that at the beginning. Not exactly the way you phrased
Yeah.
it, but I like the way you cut to the quick.
Well, yeah, I usually do.
but that is the male thing.
Yeah.
Oh, if I go in the hospital, they're going to kill me. So I'll just.
Yeah, no,
Well-
or I'm a man, I can handle it.
Let's
Yeah,
face
yeah.
it, all the horror stories we hear about all the invasive procedures that oncologists do and urologists do to men in certain areas, they're all true, and they scare us to death. And we go, oh, I'd rather just, not go. But I'm here to tell you that just in my little limited number of people that I deal with on social network who I knew were praying for me and who responded to me, I was shocked by the number of people who said, oh, my dad had that. My uncle had that. My brother had that. I didn't know anybody that had it till I had it. But evidently it's a larger problem.
Well, this is not normal dinner conversation.
No, but it's on my heart, Joe, because, we're here to inform our listening audience about things that we think are important. And I'm here to tell our listening audience that, hey, this is something you ought to be aware of.
Well, and there's any number of things that are misdiagnosed or diagnosed too late. That you could be dead. Thank God Nancy was the bulldog there, and she just kind of made it happen.
But knowledge is the key, Joe. So, if there's a way that I can find between now and when the good Lord does call me home to help spread that knowledge or get things started, I think that it's a good thing because, as I was telling you earlier, Joe, from my knowledge of men give to charities that help women and children and animals and the environment, but they don't do a lot about taking care of themselves. And only men, as you know, Joe, only men have that prostate issue. No one else gets that, and I think that perhaps with the technology we have, there could be some better
Wait a second,
ways.
I thought we were all equal.
We're not equal.
Women
We're
don't
not
have a
equal.
prostate.
So you're saying we're different.
We're different.
Amazing.
Wait a minute.
Amazing.
Is that why
Not-
you look so funny?
I didn't say better. I just said different.
Yeah. No,
Not
I thought we
better.
weren't supposed to be different anymore.
Well, you know what? We started this off, Alan. Dan was saying, if you listen to these people, all of us, if we live long enough, men are going to get prostate cancer, right? I mean, it's just a given.
Right.
And he said, why? I mean,
Why is that a given?
Why is this
Why
a
do we
given?
just accept that? Why do I need to transfer that doom and gloom to the next generation or the generation after that? Isn't there something that should be done that's not being done? Is it more advanced diagnosis? Is it more research? I don't know.
They say as men get older, their ears and their nose still continue to grow. Well, so does the prostate.
Yes, I understand that.
Yes.
But why is that?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, I will tell you this.
I just know that my grandfather had these really big ears.
And so are you saying he had a really big prostate?
I have no idea.
Is that the correlation?
Yeah, that was a
Tip O'Neill
personal
had a huge
question.
nose.
That's the correlation?
Personal question.
Some things don't grow. I hate to tell you.
No matter how old you get.
No matter how old. In fact, the older you get, the less. Anyway, never mind that.
It's like I tell my wife, I've decided not to go on a diet because it's not working. I'm just going to get taller.
Well, it's funny you should say that. So, you know how, Alan, us old people, we always compare illnesses. Remember back when we were 16, 26, 36, we'd say, listen to these old people. Now it's us.
Absolutely.
But I've spent...
Are you guys some of the men that gather really early at Dunkin' Donuts because you can't sleep?
No. But
I think I'm going to start eating more fatty food because I'm not feeling immortal anymore.
In defense of old people who do that, I think they do it to spread knowledge, not to compare misery.
Well, not if you're a woman.
I think they're one-upping each other, actually.
One up, like comparing scars?
Yeah.
Well, Dan, I think, is going to be somewhat on a mission, and if he carries through, this will be a wonderful thing. But education, Alan, by the way, just so people know, this is the Team Martek show. I am Joe Martek, financial advisor, and Dan Woron, independent insurance agent, is sitting here, and special guest member Alan Love, retired prosecuting attorney from Wisconsin, is here. But back in 2004, Dan, Greg Fasula, attorney, and Joe started doing his radio shows with the concept of educating people in different areas of our individual expertise that the other ones didn't know. And I love picking on Greg even when he's not here. It was called, how long do you think we're going to have to do these shows, Joe? Dan and I are looking forward to it. Greg is thinking, how long do you think we're going to have to do these? And nobody would have dreamed that 14, 15 years later, we would still be doing these shows. But over a period of time, we've added other local professionals because subjects that the three of us had a somewhat of a working knowledge in, we didn't have a complete
What's
knowledge in.
the old saying? I know enough to be dangerous.
And that's the truth. You, Dan, had one of the better sayings is that old age is an accumulation of mistakes, which does teach you more and more not to make those mistakes again. So part of what we try to do is impart our individual knowledge and answer questions for people, which means, by the way, that you can call us 340-1590, 340-1590. But we also added Ms. Victoria Loyd, Remax of Stewart, hardest working realtor known to man, hardest working person maybe. And in fact, she's supposedly on her way, but you know how she always calls, and sometimes she gets sidetracked on her way here with a client. And
that's what she does.
That's what she does. Her, no matter what, I swear, if Victoria was dying and on her way to the cemetery, if somebody called, she'd have to postpone her own funeral because she just takes.
Are you saying she wants to be buried with that phone?
I think I wonder sometimes, but that's just the nature of her. She is a worker, and she's conscientious to be like nobody else that I've ever met. Which leads me to Mike Paulus, mortgage broker, who works hand in glove with Victoria. And one of the things that people, I think they've learned, because we only preach on it constantly, is before you go shopping for real estate, find out what you qualify for and if you can qualify for it.
Absolutely. It makes the buying experience so much better.
And Victoria brought it up, I think, a week or three ago, that people say they're pre-qualified. Well, you're technically never 100% pre-qualified. You're pre-qualified for credit and income, but before you can actually be qualified for a house, you have to have a physical house, you have to go through the appraisal, you have to have that procedure done, and then you're qualified.
So would you say a bona fide offer is check in hand?
There you go.
And there's a big difference?
Isn't that a flat fact?
Joe, before we get into subject matter related to the show, I just want to go back to medical for a moment.
Go ahead.
One of our frequent callers who contributes a lot through his humor and through his questions, Bulldog as we know him. On Monday I had a conversation with him, and this morning he is undergoing a biopsy. And I just want to pray for a moment that the biopsy turns out to be negative, and wish Bulldog and his family all the best today from
for sure.
everybody.
What happens is the diagnosis, and I don't know what procedure he is all along on this, but he's looking that his tongue has got a problem.
Right.
And we're hoping for Bulldog. As I picked on him last or 2 weeks ago, I says, well, the good news is you may not be able to talk as much. He appreciated that. 340-1590, 340-1590. So back from 04, we've been very blessed. Dan, you and I especially, I think. And Alan, in spite of the fact that you move way too fast, I've really appreciated the fact that you've been our special guest member for so long.
Well, it keeps us on track as we get sidetracked so easily.
Every once in a while, he says, okay, guys, remember you're here not to talk about your
politics,
diseases.
your diseases.
We're here to educate people. Dan and I, we're blessed people. There's no doubt about it. We've been able to do things that we never dreamed and be able to help people that needed help. Again, in our group, when we add it all together, there's around 200 years of combined experience. And a little minor thing that I hardly ever talk about. One, none of us work for each other. None of us share commissions, fees, nothing. None of us share office space. None of us are in charge. The whole concept was, let's put local professionals together that have integrity and have experience in order to help people. And to put it mildly, Dan, that plan has worked super well over the years.
Well, it's not what I would call the good old boy network,
No.
but it's our own version of it. If I have someone that I'm going to refer to a specialist,
Yep.
they need to know that I'm calling that person back and saying, well, hey, how did that experience
Exactly.
go? Did the specialist really do his job, or did he scare you to death? I think it's important. So for me to have a group of people in my life that I can have confidence in,
Right.
to know that, hey, if I send you to this attorney, I know he's going to do a great job for you, and I'm expecting a great report back.
Which, speaking of Greg Fasula, and there's a lot of things that just kind of tick me off, and I see ads in the newspaper or attorneys that are selling trusts all the time. And they make a big deal out of all the reasons you should have a trust. None of them have I ever seen an ad that says you may not need a trust.
Right. Here are all the reasons you don't need a trust.
Yeah, and honestly, I think if I was an attorney today, I'd like to do one of those counter ads just to say, hey, we can avoid this and this if you do this, this, and this. And Greg would look at somebody that comes in his office and they think they want a trust because a neighbor got one or somebody got one, and he'll say, well, look, if you do this instead of that, you don't need a trust, and why would you go through that aggravation?
Well, that's knowledge, Joe, and that's really what the group offers,
Yeah.
is knowledge on specific ideas and specific things, such as, let's say, back to Greg, for example. If you have a need for a trust, he will tell you.
Yeah.
If there's one or two items within your financial portfolio that he could say, hey, if you just change this
That's it.
or change that, you don't really need a trust. You can go with the regular will.
I got a client of mine now. They're not so young. They're in a retirement home, which is technically an assisted living. It's not actually, their section is not assisted. They can walk in and out and drive and do whatever. But years ago, they had what was called an AB trust.
Sure.
Now, an AB trust meant there's two people involved. One is A, one is B. And the reason we had these AB trusts, because
Avoid probate.
the government way back said you can only pass without
Was it like 600,000 or something?
675,000 can be passed with no estate tax, and over that,
Is that what we call the death tax,
the
Joe?
death tax, yeah. Over and above the 675, the tax got up to 50%. So
We could also call it double taxation because you pay tax
You paid
on it
when
when
you
you
earned
earned
it.
it.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what happened is, let's say the couple had over $1 million. Well, they would divvy it up into two piles so that when one died, there was no estate tax. So they had the AB trust. So now they've got this trust, and now they're living in this, quote, assisted living, and they're trying to update their trust. And I said, wait a minute. You don't own a house anymore. You've got a bank account and a brokerage account, and you've got your stuff that you're living with. I hate to tell you, I don't even think you need a will anymore, because
Now,
We-
would they need to protect that money from the assisted living
you can't.
getting a hold of it?
There's no such thing.
Okay.
Point is this: there's nothing that will protect you. Let's put it this way: if you go into a nursing home and the bill's $6,000 a month, they want you to pay the $6,000. Now, if you don't have the money, Medicaid comes in, which
But
is
you've got to spend your little nest egg down
Right.
to a level before they'll step in.
Right.
they
Okay.
cannot
And that
will not.
bothers me. You shouldn't have to bankrupt yourself for the
Well,
government
but
to
guess
help
what?
you.
You're
I'm
talking
just telling
logic
you.
again.
I'm going to
Well,
be a
you do
burden
for
on my
Medicaid,
family.
you do.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. You
Yeah.
have to
That
split-
bothers me.
Yeah,
My-
you get it $18 a month or so, or $30.
Yeah.
That's all they'll give you.
Well,
Yeah.
Dan shouldn't get that much. He'd waste it.
You got to get his hair. It's to get your hair done.
Yeah.
Well, the key thing I'm trying
Cost
to
me
say
$20
is,
bucks.
so what happens is, years ago, people used to think they could avoid certain things by using a trust. Well, that was never true. A lot of times people do corporations, LLCs, they do all kinds of vehicles they think are going to protect them, because unless you're General Motors, you're this monster corporation, a lot of it just doesn't work because they penetrate these things. So literally, when you talk to somebody like Greg, he's not just going to automatically let you go ahead and spend your money and give you this pretty book and charge you $2,000 or $3,000, which Dan and I've seen lots of people do.
Well, not only that, Joe, the law, the tax laws, when your clients did the AB trust,
Right.
that was the optimal solution at the time.
that time, yeah.
That's no longer the case. So
No.
if you've been sitting around with the same old plan for the last 20 years, you might not be doing the best thing for your family.
Well, the key thing, we went through it. Today, you can pass over $10 million without any inheritance
And don't
tax.
you think that's going to cover the vast majority of everyone we know?
More than the vast
But can
majority.
they change that anytime they like?
They probably
Yeah,
could.
okay.
But if
Real
you're
life.
not kept up to that, let's suppose they went from 10 back to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you didn't make any changes, you could
Right.
end up getting whacked.
Yep.
So literally what happens, the whole concept, we call it estate planning. I had a church that I went to see the church elders last Saturday. Can you imagine me working Saturday, Dan?
I can.
I know it happens. Anyway, the whole thing was to educate the church finance board and the elders on things, and this is one of the big subjects that came up. Quote, estate planning. I said, you know what estate planning means? I said, estate planning means, are you ready to die? That's all. So,
That's right.
You know, and
Did you use estate planning with the rolling of the tongue, so you like the
that's
fine
it.
Corinthian leather voice?
Fine Corinthian leather. So I said, look at folks, there's two ways are you ready to die. Are you ready to meet your maker? That's one. The other one is financially. So let's do the financially one now. And how do you take care of this? Well, normally through a will or trust. And then we went through why would you need one as opposed to the other.
And listen, I have heard many times people say, it's not my problem.
Uh-huh.
No, don't leave a mess for your family.
Somebody else will deal with that. And I'm here
No.
to tell you that's not the right way to do it.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the worst things is when you leave and your affairs are not in order, you might upset somebody. And your family starts to fall apart. And Vic, how many times in our life, all of us have sat and watched perfectly good families all end up hating each other over a small amount of money?
A lot of them.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
A
very,
lot of
it's
them.
very,
That's
very
sad.
sad. Yeah, to watch things like this happen that could have been avoided by the parent or somebody if they'd have done this, quote, properly
Oh,
at the
there could be
beginning.
war over knicknacks.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, that's
I
funny you
mean,
should say that because
yeah.
that does happen most of the time over something small.
Yeah.
Piece of furniture.
Yeah.
Well, it's. In fact, I had a client of mine that died, and she had this table, which is a giant cypress knee, one piece as a base with a glass top on. And I says, when you die, there's only one thing I want from you, and that's that table. So
Did she say get in line?
she gave
Take
it
it
to me.
now.
She gave it to me. Yeah. And then I said, okay, now you can go ahead and die.
You can go ahead
I
and
got
go.
I got the table. 340-1590, 340-1590.
But doesn't that make sense to do it now while people can utilize it and you gave them some joy?
Well, there's what happens. This client of mine I was talking about that are living down in this quote assisted living, paying big bucks. They really need nothing anymore because they've given away most everything because there's not a lot of space in these places.
Well, what I've been doing lately, Joe, is, I'm a firm believer in jewelry for my baby. So
Yeah,
when it's
yeah.
her birthday or whatever, I've been buying her jewelry for decades. Well, there's really not much she needs and hasn't needed. So now I call my daughters and I say, hey, I'm thinking about buying this. What do you think? Because you're going to end up with it. So
I like the way he says baby because that could be anybody.
Well, that's his baby.
that's my baby.
His baby. But that's not a bad way. That's my son-in-law, Sherry's husband, Shane. He says, hey, Joe, who gets that boat when you die? And I said, you do. You're the only one that can afford it. He goes, okay, good. When are you going to die?
You get nothing from me.
340-1590, 340-1590. So Ms. Victoria Loyd, Remax of Stewart, hardest working person alive. So what's going? Is the real estate market hot right now? Cold or luke or in between?
Well,
or what?
I want to say it's in between.
In between?
It really is in between.
Because
Yeah.
I know interest rates again are really low again.
They're fabulous.
Yeah.
It's not so much interest rates that people are looking at. They're looking at the actual product nowadays.
Yeah.
And they're saying, hey, this is what I'll pay for it. So your sellers are kind of holding tight for a higher price, and your buyers are saying, no, I'm not coming up.
Yep.
I've had this situation several times with contracts, and they get into a stalemate, and it goes nowhere. And as much as we try.
The key thing is this: if the seller's not motivated,
Well, they're
They-
motivated.
Well, they're
They
motivated
are
at a certain
motivated.
point.
Dan's right. They are.
to what
And-
point though?
Well, there's some where they're already moved out of their houses and it's vacant,
Yeah.
and you've got buyers. But the people are looking at different styles nowadays. What they like 12 years ago when they bought this house and the styles of today, even though your house is clean and nice, they want to make changes.
They have to upgrade.
That's right. And they put the value on that also.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm buying a nice house, but got to spend $50,000 to upgrade the kitchens and bathrooms, I got
Makes
to
a
build
big
that
difference.
into my head.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
340-1590, 340-1590. And what did you just say?
James, it's James on the phone.
James is on the phone. James, she was whispering to me, but I'm an old guy and my
That's what-
hearing is bad and I'm plugged up today. But this is Joe Martek and you're on the radio. Thanks for calling.
Okay, the question I've got, sold a house in Oklahoma. All right, I got a check back. First off, the house was in my wife's name. And, of course, when she died, I inherited the house, and I just kept making the payments on the loan. When we sold the house, there was around $1,000 of in the escrow that they sent me a check for $1,000. But it's in her name. Now, I need a power of attorney or an executor of an estate to get that money cashed. Is it worth going to Oklahoma and getting it done, or can I have it done here?
Boy, oh boy.
Sounds like it'd cost you $1,000 to go to Oklahoma and back to begin with, James.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought I'd just buy me a cigar and light that check up and light a cigar with it.
Now, I'm going to tell you something that I didn't tell you. This check is made out to your wife, right?
Yes.
You have a bank account, right?
Yes.
Were both of your names on that bank account, you and her?
No. She died
Long time ago.
95.
Okay. What you might want to do is call Greg Fasula, attorney, on the phone and say, Greg, what do you think I should do? Is there a way I can do this without driving to Oklahoma? And he might charge you $50 or $100 and find you a way to get it done, so it can save you $800 or $900. But literally, that's probably what I would do.
Yeah.
Vic, what do you think?
But you're saying escrow. I mean, who had it in escrow?
Probably the bank.
But it
he's
makes no
making the
difference. But the
payments.
check's already made out. You see?
Oh no, but it can be changed, Joe.
How long
if
have
you have a
this
death
check?
certificate,
Okay.
okay,
Good.
if you have a death certificate, and
Yes, I sent them a death certificate.
okay, so and when we say escrow, was this a mortgage? You're saying that was in
Yes.
the okay. So you sent the death certificate to the mortgage company.
Yes.
Okay, because that's what you really need to do. You need to show them, send a
Well,
letter.
but he already did that. And they
I know,
still
but
sent,
it went to the wrong person. That's
Yeah.
what happens. But that's exactly what you need to do, and they need to recut the check to you.
Well, they said that I needed to get a power of attorney or executive estate to
Well,
get that
A
check.
power of attorney you can't do. She's deceased, so there's a power of attorney wouldn't be.
they can't
any
give
good.
you one. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't give you a power of attorney for something.
But with you know what it is? If I were you, I would call back and get a different person to talk to.
Absolutely, you have the wrong person.
Yeah, we do this all the time in our business. Everybody here, I don't take no for an answer until I get it 3 times from 3 different people. So you might find the next person that knows what they're talking about, like Victoria was just saying. So I would just call.
I did. I talked to the girl, and I said, I want to talk to your superior. And the superior said, Yo, you got to have this and this and this done. And they sent me a packet to get it
I'd
done.
write for deposit, and I'd deposit it.
No, that's fraudulent.
I
You
would
can't do
I
that.
would suggest what Joe suggested. I know we're sitting
Okay.
around here all talking. I would suggest that you talk to Greg Fasula.
Right.
He's the team attorney. You know, James, many times when a letter comes from an attorney's office, it gets a whole lot more attention than if the letter comes from you or I.
I know.
And so that would be my suggestion, is that you give Greg a call, tell him what you've tried to accomplish, and allow him to assist you in getting this done.
Okay.
That's too much money to just roll over and give it away.
Yeah, what's his phone number?
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
No, that's
That doesn't work. Where's Greg Fasula's
I don't
phone?
have it in here.
Well, that's good. I don't have
It's out at the front desk.
What if we do this? What
Hold
if we
on.
get
I might have it.
You got it?
What if we
I
could
don't
always
have-
get James's number and have
Yes.
Greg call him if we can't find it. Hold on for a second, James, and we'll see how we can serve you best here, brother.
Let Victoria see if she has it.
I've got it in my phone in
It's
the car.
area code 772-337-0062.
0062.
Correct.
337-0062.
Correct.
Okay.
Talk to Greg on the phone about the situation. He may be able to cure it for you without even walking in the door. I mean, just yeah, let him handle it.
Okay, I will.
All
Thanks
right.
for calling, James.
Thanks.
340-1590, 340-1590. And our
We've got
producer.
June on the line.
You got
Keep
who?
your headphones.
We got
June.
June.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what?
Hi, June.
Hi, June. It's Joe Martek. You're on the radio.
Good morning. How are you?
Hey, old. Other than that, fine.
Aren't we all?
Not necessarily. We got Miss Victoria Loyd, who I've known since 1980, and she's still only 30.
That's a good trick.
I ate a lot of chocolate.
A lot of chocolate, right? How can we help?
My comment is, one of you guys said that you're talking about that assisted living, and then
Right.
if they run out of money, then Medicare, Medicaid, or whoever it is goes in. And, the guys, let the government take care of you. Well, the government isn't Joe Biden. The government is you, me, and the rest of us.
That's a fact.
That pay the
Absolutely.
taxes.
That's a
Absolutely.
fact. But, you know,
So-
here's the rule is this. Let's say you need to go into a nursing home. Now, by and large, the government will not pay, Medicaid will not pay for assisted living or for
No.
home health. They only will pay for nursing home. But you
Right.
you have to be to the point where you need to be in a nursing home. And then when you're broke, the government will come in, which is you and me, the taxpayer, under Medicaid, and they'll pay the bill.
Right. Now that's different, than saying, well, let's hide the money and so the government will pay for it.
It's
And
really
they-
hard to hide the money. I mean, there
It
is
is now because
there's
they
a
go
look
back so
there's
far.
a look back window.
5 years.
5 years now.
Yeah.
So it's not designed. Listen, the benevolence of the government is not designed so you can pass on all this money.
No.
All right. But at the same time, I'm just going to tell you what I believe in my heart, that as a country, I don't think we do as good a job as we could do for our elderly, because I'm here to tell you,
You're getting close to that.
it does not cost $6,000 a month to take care of a little man or a little woman in a 100-square-foot room, and that's what they get for their money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can
In
tell
the
you a story.
nursing
though.
home?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah. My mother got hurt, and she got hurt in a hospital, believe it or not. And what happens is she's had to stay so long, her Medicare ran out. And how it runs out is she had to be out of the hospital for, I think it was 60 or 90 days for it to start back up.
Up again.
And we tried to take her out of the hospital, but she was hurt so badly and had gotten infection so badly that we tried to do it, but we couldn't. So in that case, we had to go to Medicaid, and she was in a nursing home.
Yeah, for sure.
My father was getting bills for over $1 million that said pay
Yeah,
now.
well, there's the people that legitimately
Oh, big time.
deserve it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
should get it.
Yes.
But there's
June,
I don't know how many, but I bet there's a heavy hand of them that try to con their way in as much as they possibly can.
I'm a gambling girl, and you're 100% right.
I will tell you, it's called fraud, and one of the problems is it isn't so much the old person that's in the nursing home that is in
No,
trouble.
they probably don't even know.
It's the kids, whoever's trying to steal the money or protect the money. And that word fraud means jail. I mean, it's a big deal.
is.
And you have to sign and swear. And I know
Yeah.
people that have been caught, and it's not a pretty picture.
And I know of people that have gone to jail for that.
Yeah, it's-
Not just for
Really?
that, but doing something. It was a real estate agent, and he fraudulently did something and got caught, and he had to go to
the
jail.
word fraud is a monster word. So when people tell me this, they'll try to hide it. And I said, well, good. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and moralize and tell you right, wrong, or indifferent, but how do you like pinstripes all over your whole body and 3 square meals a day? And, you can.
No, they make you look too fat. Forget about it.
And if you're planning for your future, then you get some assisted living care insurance.
Yep.
I mean, there are things that you can purchase to avoid all those issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, June, listen.
Thanks for calling, June.
You did a
All
wonderful.
right, have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
340-1590, 340-1590. And Mike is on the radio. It's Joe Martek. Good morning.
Great show as always.
Hey, man,
Remember-
our faithful listener, Mike. How you doing, my man?
Remember Tina Turner?
Yeah,
It's
boy.
only the thrill of boy meeting girl, opposites attract. Now, Mr. Joe Biden is finding out that you cannot let twisted, misguided maladjust dictate personal behavior policy, or you're going to wind up with a lot of problems.
Uncle Joe. Well, I wonder which one of his competitors is behind this whole movie.
No. Here's the thing, though. If you go onto YouTube and you see the swearing in while he was the vice president, it's all over the place. I mean, he's got his nose into little girls' hair, smelling little girls. I mean, little girls, like 9-year-olds, rubbing shoulders. He's been way too close to too many people.
Well, guess what?
I mean,
I guess he's not going to be our next president.
You know what?
I didn't think he was.
I didn't think it was.
Inception.
I really didn't think it was all going to come out this fast.
No.
But is anybody out there
fortunate.
surprised? We've all been aware of it to a great degree.
Yeah.
I've been friends with Brooke Shields up there in West New Jersey for over 30 years, and I'll tell you, that great lady, a peck on the cheek, a hug, she gives plenty of them. She has a heart of gold and loves people, and I don't see anything wrong with sharing that. I just don't see a problem. And a good man like Biden, I hate to see him get trashed.
No, there's stuff that's
well,
not so good.
On the other hand, I mean, if Brooke Shields wants to give me a hug and a kiss, I'm ready anytime. But I don't want any kisses from
Probably
Joe.
would.
But Joe, as a man, I'm here to tell you that I wait for the woman to come in to give me the hug or the peck on the cheek. I don't go after
Absolutely.
it. I wait on that. All right, and then it's like, you're getting like permission. I don't ever want to feel like I'm forcing myself on a woman.
That's exactly right. I just say I need a hug, and quite often I get that hug, and I hug back.
And
I know, and I'm Italian, and we do it all the time.
Absolutely.
I don't, it's just a way of
The
life.
last time I asked for that hug, I got slapped.
You didn't. Well, that was.
You got a fist
wasn't
pump.
from me.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the one thing that there's just too little of. Remember that.
Hey, Mike, I want to thank you for clarifying something for me. I was wondering why I wasn't getting hugs and kisses from women, and you just clarified it. I'm so slow that the women just won't even wait for me. They're impatient.
You can't be that way. And I just want to say to Bulldog, I'm a man of great willpower, and I'm pulling hard. Only the best to you. Bulldog, be strong.
Yeah. I'm going to shout out to him. I talked to him yesterday. He's in right now having a biopsy done.
Yes.
So I told him I'd do a shout out for him. So
Good,
our
good.
prayers are with him, believe me.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, Mike. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
We love having you as a regular listener, and I appreciate your input every time.
Appreciate that. Heck, y'all have a good week now.
Thank you,
Bye,
sir.
Mike.
Bye.
340-1590, 340-1590. Well, as life is working and moving along, it is.
Absolutely. Here's the funny thing. No matter how important or how high you are on the ladder, you're replaceable.
Isn't that a fact?
And that's something that our mortality is something we have to be aware of.
Amen. That's it. 340-1590, 340-1590. Anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about sooner or later.
You got a call.
You got a call.
We got a call.
Yes.
John.
Hi.
John, she's
How are you
pushing.
guys?
She's pushing buttons all over the place and yelling at me. But you know how women, John. You know how women treat us, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I listen to you guys all the time whenever I can. Hey, I've got a question for you. I heard you talking about long-term care. Now, what's the average price for that kind of insurance, long-term care or nursing?
Nursing
I don't know
home
what you call
insurance,
nursing.
long-term care
Yeah.
insurance, home
Yeah.
health care. Let me just tell you, number one, there is no such thing as an average price. The younger you are when you take it out, the lower the premium is.
Sort of like life insurance.
It's sort of like life insurance.
Do you sell that?
Gotcha.
I can find it. It's not a problem.
We both do. Dan and I both do. But I will tell you, I had, in fact, a regular client of mine called me up last week and said, Joe, my premium just went up $200 a month. And I just said, number one, you're not insurable anymore. He's got bad health. And I said, if you can afford it and you think you're trying to protect your estate for your child, if you can afford the $200 extra a month, hey, that's your personal decision. We all know this. Nobody wants to go into a nursing home. Nobody wants to be disabled. But it does happen.
And Joe, here's what I have also observed. in America, we have this mindset that is our sworn duty to leave our children a pile of money.
Yep.
Most people I know would much prefer their parents spend it on themselves,
Of course.
and take care of themselves while they're alive than go through misery and deprivation to leave something to that child. I'm just telling you what I think.
No, we understand.
If I'm leaving them my money, they're taking care of me when I get old.
Hey, I already said I'm not leaving any money and I'm moving in. And my daughter said, bring your Social Security check and you're cooking.
That's why I didn't have children. I don't have to worry about that.
You'll be in that Ted shed out back.
Ted's shed, right?
A little window air conditioner.
Hey, listen. The reality is this: long-term care insurance is very expensive, and the older you get, the more expensive it is. And if you have health problems, you may not be able to get it at all.
But if you're living in between, listen, if you're worth tens of millions of dollars, you're self-insured.
You don't need it.
All right. But if you're in that middle, not quite so poor, but not quite super rich, if you can afford it when you're in your 40s or 50s, when it's probably not even on your mind, it's not a bad decision to purchase.
Exactly. How old are you, John?
70.
See, you're on the cusp. Are you in really good health?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in good health, but
I mean, let's put it to you this way: are you on any prescription drugs? Have you had operations?
no.
Okay. Listen, you might be a good candidate for long-term care insurance, but my guess is a standard plan right now would probably cost you $5,000 a year, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, Dan.
That's about right.
That's what I wanted to know, just a rough.
Yeah.
About the cost of 1 month in the center if you had to pay for yourself.
Yeah, but what they do normally, let's just say it's $5,000
a year.
A year for the premium. They normally have like a 30, 60, or 90-day waiting period where you have to pay yourself when you're in the nursing home, and that's okay. So let's just say it costs $5-6 grand a month to be in a nursing home, and then they kick in and pay the bill.
And the longer your wait, then the cheaper it is.
Yeah. If you have a waiting period, if you can afford the first 20 or 30 grand, if you go in the nursing home, your premium stays lower because they have that waiting period. Understand, if they pay you on the first day when you go in, you're going to pay instead of $5,000 a year, maybe $8,000.
It's like buying car insurance. If you have a real low deductible, you're in a sense spending more money for the privilege of that.
WPSL, WSL.
But I would say off the top of my head, at your age and good health, you're looking average premium around $5 grand a year. Yeah, and here's another minor problem. These premiums can go up, and they usually do.
They can. And do you want inflation guard? Do you want to merge it with your Social Security? There's all kinds of little bells and whistles that you can have, and the goal is to find something that you can live with that gives you some coverage. Because I'm going to tell you, a little is better than none.
Yeah.
All right. So
sometimes, you can buy, let's say, 1 year's worth where they're going to pay the bill.
And if you look at statistically, most people are dead within 2 years anyway.
Yeah. And,
great.
And
oh, great.
John, there's another. Do you know why men die before their wives, John?
Because they can.
Why is that?
Because we can.
Yeah, because we can. Huh?
Because we can. It's like, why do they call it the golden years? Because you give your gold to somebody else.
He gets it.
Now, how about just home health care?
Same concept. Home health care is technically even more expensive because if you need somebody 24 hours a day to come into your house, and let's say they charge $10 an hour, which today is more than that.
Oh, a lot more than that.
I know, but that's $240 a day times 30 days. You're like $7 or $8 grand just there, but it's more like $8,000 or $10,000 for 24-hour care.
Daughters are more economical.
Yeah, well,
that's right.
Even ex-wives start to look better. Anyway, but each one of these things, if you want us to get you some numbers to put together, leave your name and number with our producer here, and we'll call you back.
Actually, what you told me is that's all I need to know.
All right, my man.
That's good enough.
You got it.
You know what I mean? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks you for calling. 340-1590, 340-1590. And is there somebody on the phone?
Yes.
Last name is Dog?
Yes.
Is he a
Mr. Dog.
Is he Mr.?
Mr. Dog today, yes.
Mr. Dog? No, Arf? Are you there? Mr.
Bulldog
The
pulled
bu-
it through, no problem, guys.
All right.
All right.
Hey, great news.
So you're
And we'll see what happens when the biopsy comes back, but, one step at a time, right?
That's right.
That's all you can do.
right.
You're talking better, Bulldog. You sound better.
well, he's not on as many drugs today.
No.
No, I'm actually
take
on
on
more.
more.
You're on more. No wonder you sound better, right?
Good. Oh, yeah, that's my whole thing. More drugs, better speech. Dan, I've got a curiosity question. You don't handle the Medicare insurance, do you?
The Medicare supplements?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you that no matter where you get it, all the plans, if it's a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, they're all the same. It's just how much does that particular insurance company charge you for it? Now,
Well, and what I was wondering, in my particular situation, I'm basically ABC covered
okay.
through VA. It's the D, which includes the dental care.
And drugs.
Right, and the drugs. So that's something I can look into for you. There are some Medicare supplement programs out there that if they're in network only, they're more reasonably priced.
Yeah, if they're like, say, vision, dental, prescriptions I get free anyway, so I'm not
Right.
worried about that. It's just the dental that is the big one.
And understand that many of the dental plans, while they're better than nothing, they're not as good a value as I'd like to see them because what they pay is usually pretty minimal. It's better than nothing, and it does help maybe encourage you to get things done because you're not paying 100% yourself.
No, you're paying 50, whatever.
You're paying 50%. So,
Right.
Look and see if you can find a dental practice that will maybe work with you to give you a lower price up front to begin with.
Yeah, I already I'm on one of those. What I was wondering, but does my status give me the Medicare dental for free, or do I still have to pay for that? But I just don't know what it would cost.
Yeah, and you'd want to know, what does the procedure, what does this plan pay me for cleaning? Well, let's suppose it pays
Right.
$50 for cleaning, and the cleaning is $175.
Yeah.
Just be aware of that.
One of the things you might do, Bulldog, and my dentist, wouldn't go in there, they have somebody working in there for the dentist that says, hey, here's 10 different plans for dental insurance that we accept. And they'll run you through which ones they are. I ended up with like $5,000 worth of dental work last year, so I bought this plan for $165 and lowered the
Lowered your
$5,000 to
out-of-pocket.
$3,800.
Yeah.
And I
So
thought
it was a net savings, and it was a good deal.
it was they lost, I won, as far as I'm concerned. But I wasn't overly concerned about an insurance company. Dan, when do you worry about insurance companies making money? Called never.
Let me tell you what, the insurance industry lost so much money in the last 2 years from natural disasters on a worldwide basis.
Absolutely.
So many of us, when we think about insurance, we think it's only here locally in Florida that affects the rates, and that's not the case. Almost every insurance company that I can think of buys reinsurance, which is insurance for the insurance company.
Sure.
And those big reinsurance companies, they insure worldwide.
Yep.
So when you have worldwide catastrophes like we've had, every marketing rep that's come into my office in the last 6-8 months have tried, they're gearing me up for what I know is going to happen, and that's some rate increases.
Bulldog.
Good. Yeah, I wanted to take care of some side notes.
Bulldog.
I love to Alan Love.
He's right
Thank
here.
you for your
He's
prayers.
trying to talk
Bulldog,
to you.
I have a question. Did they give you any indication how long it would be before you know the results of the biopsy?
Next week, Wednesday.
Oh,
Hey, that's
okay.
pretty. That's fine. Hey, good.
And you let us know.
Well, listen, if you die between now and then, you don't care what the results are.
Oh no, I figure I got 6 months at least. Oh, hey, look, I gotta teach Mary Beth how to not only run the house, but then how to. This is where I'm kind of hook and Vic on this one. If I wanted to sell this house, Vic,
Well, hey, listen.
So I'm trying to hook her in, and my thanks to her for dealing with Mary Beth's son's house. Good job, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. It's great. We're doing real good.
And I got to tell you, she works hard to get these sales.
Hey, listen.
Thank
good.
you. Thank
She's
you.
the hardest
I
working.
appreciate that.
Listen, hardest working person I've ever met, ever. Anyway, Bulldog, my man, hang in there, and if you do die, don't you worry, Mary
He's
Beth.
not dying. Quit saying that.
Okay, well, I was just
I'll be the judge of that.
I was
Thanks,
just
Bulldog.
going to say, you don't worry a thing. I'll take care of Mary Beth.
Bulldog, I've
Now he's worried.
I've got one tip for you. The Hebrew calendar is 13 months, so start using that one. You'll have an
live
extra
longer.
month.
You'll have an extra month.
Oh, I thought I started reading right to left and I was subtracting.
Yeah. All right, my man. Listen, hang in there. We'll talk to you. Thanks again.
All right. Bye,
Thanks.
team.
Bye.
340-1590, 340-1590. What time is it?
It's like 3 minutes till, so you
How
got
many?
3 minutes till.
It's
Three-
time to talk about money. So
We got 3 minutes
your
of it?
compliance
Yes.
officer has to
Well, you have
listen.
2 because I have to play your little disclaimer at the end.
You know, it's an interesting thing, and I've been watching these TV commercials where they're selling these index annuities, but it isn't what they say. And they have all kinds of words where people are earning all kinds of money, but they can't get the money.
Right.
Now, it doesn't say
It's
that.
a credit.
It's a credit. So what I'm trying to say, one thing I wanted people to say, if you have an index annuity, what they call them fixed index annuity, I'd be glad to talk to you on the phone. Don't need to come and meet you. Sometimes I put together a conference call with you, me, and the insurance company so you know exactly what you've got. And most people, in fact, let me just say this. I've met one person ever that knew what they had with that program. They're very difficult to understand, but agents sell them like crazy
But
because
Joe, to get out of those things, isn't there like a penalty usually?
well, there's a penalty always to get out of them. But the worst thing is not knowing what you've got and thinking you've got something that may not work for you.
Sure.
340-1590, 340-1590. Do you remember my client that came in to see you?
Oh, I do, Miss Miller.
And she was complaining about, well, they didn't sell her a new program. What the guy did was not explain it properly. Can you imagine that happening?
Yes, I can.
And then, so I called up the company. You know what her penalty is to get out?
10 grand?
She's got $95,000 in it. Her penalty is $20,000.
Oh, that's unconscionable.
Isn't that something?
That's unconscionable.
But there, so
How do they get away with this all the time?
Well,
I mean,
here's-
who's policing these
no,
people?
you know, I like the way you just said that. There are all these government agencies out there to do things, but I don't understand how a lot of these products ever got approved by our government agencies, but they do. And Dan, you and I both know.
Oh, I do.
It disgusts us constantly. Anyway,
Let's discuss that more next week.
We'll talk about that next week. All right. Listen, everybody, thanks for calling Bulldog. Hang in there, my man, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
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 You've been listening to the Team Martek Hour. The Team Martek Hour is a paid program. The content was provided by the advertiser. WPSL, its staff, management, and ownership were not responsible for its content. Investment involves risk. Prior to making any investment, an investor should meet suitability requirements. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future performance. Neither the opinions expressed nor the information provided constitutes a recommendation to purchase or provide investment advice. The material presented is not a substitute for obtaining professional advice from a qualified person or firm. Securities offered through Centaurus Financial, member FINRA and SIPC. Tune in again next Wednesday at 11:05 for the Team Martek Hour here on WPSL 1590.